What is up? Welcome to the mid-season edition of the Avenger League recap. We're on week 8, which means we're just over the halfway point of the regular season. Obviously 13 weeks. A little bit weird to find a midway point, but because of this, I have a little surprise to start off the recap, and I've alluded to it a little bit. But we've got some analytics here. So let me go ahead and pop those up on the screen. So we got a couple different sets of numbers to look at, and this is where we're going to start, and this is where most of what I've done is based off of this screen, which is just a real quick average of points for and points against. Real easy to see. Right now I have it sorted by points for, so obviously Riley at the top, 127, Charlie, Cameron, Tim, Andrew, Wade, Trevor, John, myself, Ashley. All this is just a simpler breakdown of the points for screen, broken down by week. Points against is kind of a quick little pseudo strength of schedule kind of calculation. But once again, it's just points against divided by the weeks. Largest obviously is Trevor, 123 points a week. Then Tim, Cameron, John, Andrew, Ashley, Raleigh, myself, Charlie, and then Wade. The only one who is not averaging 100 points or more against him per week. And then up here, real small, just to kind of have it written, we have the overall scoring average. So there's an average. Each team on average is putting up about 108 points a week, 107.99. And then just quick little chart, because I'm learning how to use Excel to show you points for versus points against. So obviously Trevor is the one who's way out of balance here, and then Riley over way out of balance here on the points for side. So then I took this and I did a little adjusting of the records. So basically, this 3 columns here, we got their actual wins over here. So this is just your amount of wins over 7 weeks. So essentially a simplified version of the record. Adjusted wins is weeks that you, based on your average opponent scoring, weeks that you should have won. So like Riley here, right here, so he's won actually 7 games. He's got 6 wins because there was a week where he put up like 98 points against Ashley, which should not have beat his average of 105.51. So that's your adjusted win record. And not a lot changes here. The averages, of your output is generally the same as what you're actually doing. Even all the way down here at Trevor, who would actually not add any wins based on his average of scoring. Then we look at expected wins. And this is weeks that you scored above the league average. So weeks that you should have won based on your output against the average scoring of the league. And this is where Trevor's bad luck really starts to show. He jumps from 1 win all the way up to 4. He'd be in 4th place if we were just playing against the league average. And then kind of your group here against that are at 4 and 3 and all kind of tied, except for Cameron, 6 and 4, that we all drop a win here. Ashley picks up an extra win based on this, which was actually no, that wasn't the game against Trevor. She did lose that one, but she does pick up an extra game here. Tim loses one of his, and John gets here. But the next screen is where I believe I use most of. This is the one I'm most proud of. So it's strength of schedule. So a lot going on here. This one, once again, I just to put it on the same screen, we have average points against. Trevor obviously all the way at the top at 123. Skewed really by 2 weeks against Ashley, who had I think 140 in the week that they played, and then obviously last week with Riley putting up 151. So this is just a recap of the first screen. This is your adjusted points against. So what this does is this is your actual strength of schedule and what it should have looked like. Let's go largest. So basically this column is based off of this number. So it's the average of what all of your opponents should have done based on their average. This is where we get who truly had the toughest strength of schedule. On paper anyway. So Tim has had the toughest strength of schedule. His opponent should have been averaging 110 points. Then Andrew at 109, Cameron at 108, myself at 108, Riley at just under 108, Wade, John, Trevor, Ashley, and Charlie has had the softest schedule to start the season, and it shows he's 5 and 2. This number is what I'm most excited about. I call this the luck quotient, but essentially all it is your average points against minus, or sorry, your average, your average points against minus the adjusted points against. So how many points your opponents are scoring on average above where they were supposed to. And this is where we really show Trevor's just shit luck. The next closest is Cameron at not even 2 points on average scored on him more than what should have been scored. Trevor's at 16. Trevor should have been playing people at scoring 107 points to 108 points. They're scoring almost 100. They're scoring 123 and a half, basically. So, and I don't think this is shocking to anyone. Trevor's had the worst luck in the fantasy season so far. I mean, if you look at his bench and what players do when they're not there, the output is just ridiculous. So this is just a jarring number, 16. Everyone else is kind of within a range here, between -3 and 2. So there's some changes here, and then Wade by far been the luckiest person. Well, I say that the weeks that his opponent scored shitty, he also scored shitty. But as far as opponent luck, he's had the best one, almost a full 10 points below expectation. One of that was well, I say it was me. I scored 98, and I think that's my average. He's had some stinker weeks in there. And then this one is strength of record. So all this is basically the what your opponent's average output is. And actually, I can show you the formula here. So average points against divided by the league average of 107.99 times your amount of wins. So basically you get a little multiplier here based on, how tough your schedule has been, multiply that by your wins, and here we are. So Raleigh at 6.84, he's had a little bit of decent luck as far as his average opponents. The people at the very top and the people at the very bottom, this isn't going to change this much, but this group right here, Charlie, Cameron, Andrew, myself, and Wade, this is where you really start to get some cool separation ideas. And I mentioned it to Raleigh while I was working on this spreadsheet. I accidentally just basically made a BCS system. So if we want to just switch to BCS next year for the playoffs, I'm all for it. Just using complete analytics, and I don't know, if we want to find 25 people to vote on the teams and we can do 2 polls, that'd be cool too. But we see here, if we go by this, I mean, your final 4 would be Raleigh, Charlie, which those 2 are in no matter what, Cameron, and Andrew. Which is funny because Andrew is actually 0-3 against the 3 other people that he's tied with. So, maybe we need to figure out a way to factor that in somehow. But Andrew does have the best strength of record among that kind of group of 4 and 3 people. Charlie doing pretty well. Cameron, yeah. So, and then the last one I have is remaining strength of record. Remaining strength of schedule. And this is just showing who's got the easiest path to the playoffs. Myself is way up there, and part of the, I think everybody can figure that out because I do get to play. If we look at points 4, I get Ashley twice, who's down there. The only way it could have been lower is if I got to play myself. So, and then I get John twice in the last couple weeks. That's bringing the average way down. Even though John's team is looking on the up and up, and Ashley kind of has a couple players that can pop off at any moment. But just based on the numbers, I've got the easiest schedule left. Tim is right there. Trevor. There we go. Myself, Charlie, Ashley, once again, because she gets to play me twice, and I'm the second lowest scorer in the league. John, Tim, Raleigh, Wade, Cameron, Trevor actually gets fucked again and has the toughest schedule, one of the toughest schedules remaining. And it's because he's got to play Raleigh again. And then Andrew at by far the toughest schedule. I think he gets Raleigh twice, so that's really skewing that. But those are the analytics. Those are my numbers. This is what I spent way too much time doing on a random Tuesday afternoon. So I hope y'all enjoyed that. I like making it. I'm trying to get good at Excel, so maybe we get more analytics in the future. Anyway, let's jump into why you came here, which is the games. Let's start off with some waiver wire moves. There were a couple cool things that happened this week. I don't think it's anything league changing. We have actually this morning at 6:37, we had Trevor pick up Andy Dalton, which is just something cool to keep an eye on. Couple kickers. Cameron having to go with Daniel Jones off of bye week there for Patty. And then we got Hayden Hurst from Andrew. I assume it was a bye week fill in. I haven't actually looked at his lineup off of that one. I was way more excited about Danny Dimes. Paris Campbell was picked up by Wade, who just loves, offshoot wide receivers from teams that can't throw the ball. Kirk Cousins also picked up by Wade. I assume another bye week, and he's trying to stack Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins, I guess. So good for him. The shocker of the week, Khalil Herbert was picked up by Andrew. So a little bit of beef there. I don't think Tim and Andrew play again, but that would be a real interesting matchup in the future to keep an eye on. And then Mike Gesicki and TJ Hawkinson, a couple other. Oh wait, that was last week. Mike Gesicki for John's bye week there. So that kind of rounds out the waiver wires. Like I said, nothing lead changing, nothing game breaking, except for Khalil Herbert being taken away from Tim. We go look at the standings. I think the only thing that changed last week, the only thing that changed last week is Cameron and Wade swapped third and fourth place. We do now have a four-way tie. I alluded to it in the analytics section. We have a four-way tie at 4-3. And with the tiebreaker nonsense, and that actually might be my next spreadsheet, is just tiebreakers and who wins what. But it is standings go like this: Raleigh, Charlie didn't change. Cameron now in third instead of fourth. Wade now in fourth instead of third. And then myself, Andrew, Tim, John, Ashley, and Trevor. None of that changed. So let's just jump right into the matchups. So as always, we're going to start with first place, which is Raleigh. I may just change that format because it's really boring talking about Riley's game first. But he gets a matchup against 4-3 Andrew. Right now he is projected 116 to 100, so a 16-point spread. Andrew does get Jalen Hurts back. Andrew actually picked up a huge win, and I didn't talk about this. I'm gonna roll back to week 7 real quick. We were all there. We all saw it. We were all a part of it. Charlie picks up just a second loss on the season by 0.12. I mean, you're talking about having to, most fantasy games end on Sunday, sometimes Monday. I mean, these two guys, they had to wait until Tuesday. I mean, one stat correction changes the entire playoff picture, changes the entire league. These are two teams that are fighting for a playoff spot. Charlie probably got his decently secured as long as he can pick up a few more wins. Andrew is right in the thick of a playoff hunt, and right now is looking on the outside looking in. He wins this. He loses this game. He's kind of done. He's got no head-to-head tiebreakers. He's gonna have to get in on record. So this was just a actual really thrilling matchup, talking about the outcome of the rest of the season, the playoff picture, and what that looks like. But Najee Harris needed 9.38 points, and he got 9.5, which I feel like every time I see Najee Harris' stat line, even last year when I had him, there was no chance. It was between 8 and 12 points. It was never less. It was never more. So I'm just gonna stop talking about Najee Harris when I do the previews, because we can all just assume he's gonna score between 8 and 12 points. Anyway, so getting into the actual matchup between Raleigh and Andrew. Right now he does still have Najee Harris in against the Eagles. So that's probably on the lower side of his 8 to 12 spectrum, probably 8. He does have an interesting kind of option down here with Damian Harris and Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert probably not as much, playing the Cowboys, but Damian Harris does get the Jets, who do have a pretty good defense in New York, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, am I going to pick New England, or am I going to pick the fucking Jets? I'm going to pick New England. I'm going to pick them to run the ball. Even with the Monjay Eaton carries, I think Mac Jones is back. He loves Damian Harris. So just something to keep an eye on. I think Najee's still the right call, but something to keep an eye on there. Najee's definitely the safer pick for sure, but when you're playing Raleigh, I don't know if you can go for safe. You got to go for home runs. So So Andrew does get Jalen Hurts back off the forced to start Marcus Mariota last week with Jalen Hurts on the bye, and he gets just a cupcake matchup with Jalen Hurts. I mean, with the Steelers. I mean, it is almost unfair with Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to be wanted in 48 states for what he's going to do to the Steelers. So that's just terrifying, honestly. Lamar Jackson actually plays tonight, gets the GOAT, gets Tom Brady, and what preseason we all thought was going to be an incredible game, and it still might. I mean, it's any given week, I think Tom Brady could figure it out and turn it around. And it's not like the Ravens are world beaters on defense, so maybe it turns into an interesting game. But we'll see there. I mean, Lamar Jackson's Lamar Jackson. He's going to put up points. He struggled a little bit last week, but he's always got the rushing upside. And I don't know, Lamar Jackson in prime time, I feel like is always just awesome. And I'm not even going to look up stats to back that up, but I feel like every time he hits prime time, oh, actually we do have a stat. He played Cincinnati like 3 weeks ago, and it was dog shit. Maybe he doesn't diarrhea. There you go. There's my analysis for Lamar Jackson. Joe Mixon. Whatever. He's Joe Mixon. He touches the ball 150 times a game. He averages like 2.5 yards per carry, but he carries it so much and catches it so much he gets points. So there's my breakdown on Joe Mixon. Gets a really favorable matchup in Cleveland. They should be able to run the ball all over him. And of course that's Monday Night Football, so that's a great little thing, little person to have in your back pocket there. And actually, god damn, Andrew's got a lot of them. Well, I'll get to those in a second. But Andrew's got a lot of he's got a lot of late games. He just this one could get interesting. Let me get to Raleigh's late games first. So he's got Aaron Jones in prime time on Sunday night against the Bills. Tough matchup. I do think the Bills are just gonna shit pump the Packers. That game is in Buffalo. They're coming off a bye week. That should be embarrassing. And I don't think Aaron Jones is going to be able to get much going against the Bills. And then he's got Jamar Chase on Monday night against Cleveland. Also a very favorable matchup and a good little piece to keep him in tow here with Andrew. If it's still a game at that point, it may not be. But Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, Gabriel Davis, and Hayden Hurst all in primetime. So Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, and Hayden Hurst on Monday night, and then Gabe Davis obviously on Sunday night. Both of these players have multiple primetime, or both of these teams have multiple primetime players. A very boring Sunday, but a real exciting Sunday night and Monday night, which I feel like historically for the league, except for the week that Cameron had did the Stephon Diggs thing, hasn't really been a good thing to have players going on Monday night. Just anecdotally, I don't think it's been very good. So maybe that's some telling news for Andrew here. But the Bengals and Browns could get into a little bit of a shootout if Jacoby actually decides to show up. It also could be a bloodbath, and which would bode well for Joe Mixon. So just interesting thing to keep an eye on there. And then probably has slotted in Gus Edwards into his RB2 slot. Zeke is questionable and is splitting carries anyway. Chase Edmonds is now second fiddle fully in Miami. Raheem Mostert looks awesome down there. So, and then Benjamin is exactly what a guy that would named Benjamin should be. He's real small, he's fast, and he sometimes looks really cool. So Gus Edwards gets the start there against the Tampa Bay defense that on paper looks tough, but we've seen some guys run on him. I mean, hell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 22 points against him. Who'd they play last week? Dante Foreman and Chuba Hubbard ran all over him. So, not as scary as we maybe thought preseason. So that, Gus Edwards should have some space to eat there, and it's especially when you got to worry about Lamar Jackson running all over you too. Interesting thing to keep an eye on tonight. So Raleigh does have two players going tonight to get out to a nice lead. I think the picks here is obvious. I think you go with Raleigh. I don't know how you pick against him. Maybe the next time he plays Trevor, you pick Raleigh just because revenge factor and how likely is it that he's going to put up 150 points again. Famous last words. But yeah, we're picking Raleigh here. So jumping over to the second place matchup, we got Charlie versus Tim. Which, as far as shit talking and and some back and forth go. Should be interesting on paper, and on the screen, I don't think it's going to be. Also a lot of Monday night players for Charlie. Joe Burrow obviously coming off just 2 back-to-back massive weeks, 32 against the Saints, 39 against the Falcons. Threw for 481 yards Sunday, 3 touchdowns. And then ran a touchdown, and I forgot about that. So Joe looks fully back. Division rival on Monday night. I mean, he should be able to light them up. And then Josh Allen on the other side for Tim on Sunday night. I also think he's going to be able to light the Packers up. So those two, I think it's kind of a wash there. Somewhere between 26 and 32 points probably for both of them. I think they kind of cancel each other out. This is one where you won't win because of your quarterback, but you can lose because of the quarterback. And that's my astute analysis. If one of these guys fails to hit 20, I think that's kind of just a death knell for them. Then you jump into the running backs, Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb. The best running back duo we have in our league. Maybe you could argue John, but just 2 more well-known names. Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, and Derrick Henry gets a Texans defense that is just awful. I mean, let's look at the year Jonathan Taylor's had. It's not been good. He put up 26 points against the Texans. He ran for like 150 yards and a touchdown. Derrick Henry should eat them alive. Nick Chubb against Cincinnati, that is a much tougher matchup, but when you're talking about a team that is Jacoby Brissett as your quarterback, and even against better defenses like New England last week, he struggled a little bit. Actually, he has not played a good defense but New England. I mean, he played the Ravens, which defense not great. He played the Chargers, which defense awful. He played the Falcons, defense okay. He played the Steelers, defense awful. I would actually like to go back and see if TJ Watt was in that game. I don't think he was. The Jets, now their defense is good. When they played them, not good. And then the Panthers, which are the Panthers. He's only played one good defense and he only put up 7.5 points. Maybe put that in a little tickler file. Jumping down to we got to look at Tim's running backs. Dante Foreman, Chuba Hubbard is hurt. Dante Foreman put up 118 yards, 27 through the air, 15.5 points. Didn't get into the end zone. I think Chuba Hubbard had I think he just had 1 rushing touchdown. But Chuba Hubbard probably out. So Dante Foreman eating up all the touches against an Atlanta defense that should be able to give up some yards there. So not exactly a sexy play, but a solid one. Forgot about the trade. Let's start with Tim, because this is gonna hurt for. Let's start with Charlie's wide receivers. This is gonna hurt for Tim. One of the other pieces of Charlie's Monday night just brigade is Amari Cooper, who's had some good games, had some stinkers, but overall it's just been a really, really solid pickup. I mean, he's really the only reliable target for Jacoby Brissett. So he's gonna get you 10 to 15 points, I think. This is the one that's gonna hurt for Tim. Amon-Ra St. Brown on the other side. He is still listed as questionable. He's limited to practice and concussion protocol. Sounds like he probably should play. Something to keep an eye on there. But Tim having to root against Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's just tough, man. I'm sorry. Flipping over to the other side, Curtis Samuel coming over from John in the DeAndre Swift trade. Am I high? Did I make that up? Oh, he's in the flex. Okay. So yeah, Curtis Samuel coming over as an extra piece in the DeAndre Swift trade is a bold start against what on paper is the number 1 passing defense in the league. I don't know who you put in over him. Maybe Alec Pierce. Actually, you definitely do Alec Pierce playing against the Commanders. Same game, but a much better matchup for Alec Pierce. And then Allen Lazard. God, Tim, these wide receivers are yikes. It's tough to look at. Allen Lazard against the Bills. Lazard's been okay. He's much like Amari Cooper. He's the only reliable target in Green Bay outside of Robert Tonyan, who is never going to break one loose. Robert Tonyan's just an 8 yard dump off machine. So, he's gonna get targets, but you're playing the Bills, and they're really good. Speaking of Robert Tonyan, there he is. 8 yard dump off machine against the Bills. I do think Robert Tonyan, on the flip side, a contradictory to Alan Lazard, is going to have a good week. Because where the fuck is Aaron Rodgers going to throw to? And he's going to be under pressure all game. So, yeah, I do like Robert Tonyan. And then we got Taysom Hill. And they're playing this game in Las Vegas. No, it's not. It's in New Orleans. I was kind of hoping the game is in Las Vegas just so some fuck shit could happen. Because fuck shit always happens in Las Vegas, and Taysom Hill is the king of fuck shit. So, but still, the Raiders games get weird. Taysom Hill does weird things. I like it. You can't really predict Taysom Hill. I mean, either he's gonna, do the thing where he doesn't get in the game, do the thing where he rushes one time for like 60 yards and then never touches the ball again, or he's gonna do the thing he did against Seattle where he rushes for 112 yards and 3 touchdowns. Because why not? And then jumping down to the running backs here, DeAndre Swift, finally, without an injury designation, full participant in Wednesday practice. Yeah, it should be finally cleared to go against Miami, a semi-favorable matchup there. The only thing I would worry about here is he going to be on a snap count? Are they going to monitor him? Is it going to be a 50-50 backfield with Jamal Williams? I don't think so, because Jamal hasn't looked great. But to be fair, the entire Lions offense hasn't looked great for a couple weeks. They've been missing some key pieces, DeAndre Swift being one of them. So, maybe things start to open up for him. Maybe both of them get going. I don't know. Lions, Miami, great uniform matchup. Terrible on-field matchup. But if Swift is back, if Amon-Ra is fully back, and we get that versus Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, game could get weird. Game could get fun. Leonard Fournette against the Ravens. Tom Brady's 45 years old and can't throw. The Ravens don't have a good defense. Leonard Fournette should eat them up. I actually do like Lenny to have a big game here. Maybe a sleeper dream team pick here. I may look at that. I got to crunch some more numbers. Projections have this at 108 to 95 in favor of Charlie, and I tend to agree. There's just not enough pieces on Tim's team. Dalvin Cook's fun. DeAndre Swift is fun. Josh Allen is the best quarterback in football right now. But Charlie's got enough firepower to keep up with that, and then some on top to counter it out. I mean, when you look at Dante Foreman, Curtis Samuel, and Alan Lazard, those are just not pieces conducive to winning a fantasy football game. Sorry, Tim. We're going with Charlie. So now jumping over to what would be third place, which would be a Cameron against Ashley. Projections here 110 for Cameron, Ashley at 96. Ashley is still riding the Tom Brady train, and I mean, it's one of those things. I get it. The second you take him out, he's gonna figure his shit out and go on an eight game tear where he's throwing for 325 yards and 3 touchdowns a game. I get it. The thought is there. You got to make a change at some point. So maybe we look at making a change here. But the good news is Patrick Mahomes isn't playing this week, so Daniel Jones is on the other side. Bad news, Daniel Jones was QB1 last week. No, it wasn't. It was Joe Burrow. But Daniel Jones, 28.78 points, 202 yards, passing touchdown, 107 yards on the ground, and 1 touchdown. Basically, Daniel Jones has had the week I've been waiting for Kyler Murray to have all season. Fucking Brian Dable's so good, and he gets to play Seattle, who just stinks. So yes, I just spent 5 minutes talking about how it's time to move on from Tom Brady and he's washed, and let's ride the Danny Dimes train. That happened. Just put that one in the notes. Going to the running backs, I mean, this is where we talked about Charlie having one of the scariest running back cores in the league. Cameron's right there. I mean, Alvin Kamara and Saquon Barkley. Alvin Kamara, we talked about it, has not scored a touchdown this year. Just goose egg 0. Even without that, he's averaging 16.5 points over the last 3 weeks since he came back from his injury. He struggled in week 1. I think he was still dealing with some injury there. Missed week 2 with an injury. Struggled in week 3, still dealing with it. Missed week 4 with an injury. finally came back fully healthy, and he's gone 20-15-14, and gets a Las Vegas defense that is suspect. So expect Alvin Kamara to have a big game this week. Maybe get in the end zone for the first time, but he's shown that even without touchdowns, he can put up yards. He just eats touches and gets yards. That's all he does. Saquon Barkley, against the Seahawks. I think I'm about to come, actually, thinking about this and thinking about what Saquon Barkley is going to do to the Seahawks. This game has to be played in international waters, because it's not going to be okay what Saquon Barkley is about to do to Seattle. On the flip side, James Conner's back for Arizona. So, I mean, he's just a touchdown machine, or he was last year. Hasn't been this year, but the Cardinals aren't scoring touchdowns, so that makes sense. Does worry me here. D-Hop's back. They've had a full 10 days to get rested. Conner is still a little bit limited. We'll see if he actually does go, or if they announce he's going to be on a pitch count. If he can't go, I assume Kareem Hunt will probably be slotted in. Maybe Antonio Gibson. Kareem Hunt with a little bit of the more favorable matchup. Antonio Gibson more touches. Kind of a tough call there. I like Hunt though. David Montgomery against Dallas. Dallas, which I would say is the best defense in football right now, and I think most people would say that, and I think we'd all agree and we'd all be right. Maybe you can argue Philly. I think they've shown some weakness the last couple weeks. Maybe you can argue the Bills. They've been playing hurt most of the year. David Montgomery's had a solid season. Nothing exceptional. He's just been solid. That's all I can really say. I mean, Tim's still out there hoping that Khalil Herbert just usurps the throne here. It takes over. I don't see that happening this year anyway. Maybe we see it towards the end of the year for them to get ready for an off season. But David Montgomery against the Cowboys. Here's the other thing: the Bears' history. Out to Wade. The Bears, historically, in my young life, after a big game, after a big win, which they did have against the Patriots on Monday, will probably come out and just shit their pants on the field in Dallas. So that's what scares me about David Montgomery. It's not necessarily David Montgomery, it's the Chicago Bears organization. Getting down to it here into the wide receivers, Tyler Lockett, if he goes, which he's still questionable and has kind of been a limited participant, but he has been for the past couple weeks and played. If he goes, DK's out, which bodes well for Tyler Lockett. The Giants have a decent defense, decent secondary, but Tyler Lockett's going to be one of two options in that offense, with Kenneth Walker being the other. So every time Geno Smith drops back, he's basically got two people to look at, and Tyler Lockett's one of them. Stephon Diggs is Stephon Diggs. We talked about what Josh Allen is going to do to the Packers. Talked about what Gabe Davis is going to do to the Packers. I don't even know if I want to get into what Stephon Diggs is going to do to the Packers. Yikes. It's going to be scary, and the game is going to be won right there. And I say right here, you can't see my mouse cursor right now, but I'm actually circling both wide receiver twos. Wide receiver 2 being a loose term because that's where they're slotted, but definitely wide receiver 1s. But as many dirty things as Stephon Diggs is going to do to the Packers, Jalen Waddle, if he plays, questionable. What we got going on? Limited participant Wednesday. Waddle's mostly questionable. Okay, he's fine. If Jalen Waddle's 100%, the things he's going to do to the Lions will also be unspeakable. I mean, we could be talking about a repeat of the Ravens game where him and Tyreek just go bazonkers. That's assuming that Detroit can stay in the game, which if DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra play, they probably can. But yeah, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill should just they should be running all over the place in Detroit on Sunday. And honestly, same thing with TJ Hawkinson. I mean, you start looking at oh god, his weeks are not good. See, this is why I fucking hate TJ Hawkinson. I can't fucking stand him. Here's his point totals: 5 points, 4 points, 9 points, decent tight end output. Did what you want every single week out of your tight end: 9.3 points, a touchdown, and a couple yards. 35.9, 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's on the waivers. Everybody gets excited. Everybody's putting in waiver claims for him. Ashley wins that battle. 1.0.6 points. Well, 0 points is a bye. My bad. 1.6 points. That's fucking TJ Hawkinson in a nutshell. One awesome week. I mean, look at this fucking doofus. Look at this fucking idiot right here. God damn it. You got me all frazzled. There it is. Look at this fucking idiot. Fucking Frodo Baggins. Fucking looking. Anyway. TJ Hawkinson will probably have like 7 or 8 points. Deebo Samuel. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off like that. I still like the Rams defense. I think I'm a little bit hung up on last year and what happened, their Super Bowl run. You know, maybe they are still good. I mean, what are they ranked right now? Number 23 against opposing wide receivers. So no, they're not good. In my head, they're still good, but the 49ers own the Rams. Deebo Samuel is going to look awesome with Christian McCaffrey. From a lot of his design run packages and what he was, you know, what made him so good last year is now going to be taken away by Christian McCaffrey, at least a little bit. So that's something to keep an eye on there. But he should be able to still make some noise in the passing game. I just think week 1 with Christian McCaffrey, they're gonna show up and show out. So and that'll hurt Deebo's production a little bit. And then on the other side we have the a product of my trade with Cameron. We have Christian Kirk playing the Broncos in Denver. I don't love it. The matchup specifically. Getting rid of Christian Kirk was tough. I know he struggled the past couple weeks. Last week when I did finally trade him, he put up some good numbers. He's had a couple of touchdowns. He's had a really decent season. I mean, he's wide receiver 10 right now. Good season, but against the Broncos in London, I don't love it. I don't know how Trevor Lawrence travels. He's got a large forehead. He's got a large nose, a large face. I don't know how that's going to do in the altitude on the plane. I don't know how that's going to fly overseas. So, Christian Kirk's kind of an enigma. Basically, is Trevor Lawrence going to show up and look like the number 1 draft pick, or is he going to show up and look like, I don't know, Brian Hoyer, Colt McCoy, I don't know, whatever shitty quarterback you want to pick. And that's why I kind of brought myself to get rid of Christian Kirk. Personally, as I was tired of just having to ask myself, what is Trevor Lawrence going to look like today? So going back up, I'm going with Cameron here. Cameron has been a little bit streaky historically, so there's a chance he has just one of those stinker weeks, and Ashley pulls off the upset. But once again, I've said it with Cameron every week. There's just too much firepower here. Kamara, Barkley, Diggs, and even usually I have Patty Mahomes in that conversation. And of course, Cameron gets the 1 week where I love Daniel Jones. I normally love Daniel Jones, but I love Daniel Jones this week. So, of course, the 1 week that he is missing Patrick Mahomes, he gets my favorite shitty quarterback. So, favorite shitty quarterback, not favorite quarterback. Daniel Jones, there's different tiers. Daniel Jones, my favorite quarterback that fucking stinks. So, Cameron picks up a pretty easy win here, I think. So jumping into the next round of matchups. So we went Cameron, now we're going to 4th place, and we get the other half of the Stevenson household versus Wade, honorary Stevenson child. Trevor, I'm sorry, I don't know what to say to you to make you feel better. I don't know if there's anything I can say. All I can say is that was a hell of a performance last week. It's more points than I've scored this year by a lot, actually. I think actually if we look at your score just last week, which was what, 128. I forgot it kind of petered out to the end. Even though 128, the two previous weeks I scored 68 and 67, which comes out to 135. You almost beat 2 of my week scores combined. Yeah, it was just tough that it came against just an all-time Raleigh just shit pumping. So I'm sorry. Now you're 1-6. A big uphill battle to make it to the playoffs. Basically, Trevor is just do or die every single week. Luckily, he's got the team to pull that off. And I mean, until he plays Riley again, I think he's going to be favored in every game. And even then, I mean, that what is that matchup? Week 12, week 13? No, week 10, week 11. Maybe he doesn't play. It's week 11. Oh, he's got a lot of buys that week. Oh, fuck, Trevor. I'm so sorry. God damn. Anyway, every game but that one, Trevor should be favored, and I'm probably gonna pick him most of those weeks. It's just you're in such an uphill battle to get back into the playoffs off of one win. So anyway, breaking down the actual players, Trevor forced to start Andy Dalton this week. Not forced to, but Aaron Rodgers fucking stinks, and he's got Buffalo. Andy Dalton against Las Vegas. Las Vegas, arguably the worst passing defense in the league. On fantasy paper, they're giving up the most points to opposing quarterbacks in the league. So good matchup here. Last week against the Cardinals, 361 yards, 4 touchdowns. Did throw 3 interceptions. And actually last week Andy Dalton threw 6 touchdowns. If you really want to get technical. And then he had a little bit with the feet, 21 rushing yards. I think that was one really sick play. So Andy Dalton, a decent matchup against Las Vegas. Red Rocket is back against actually interesting little development here that I didn't see because Justin Herbert's on the bye. We have Kirk Cousins versus Ginger Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins playing Arizona. Also a terrible passing offense. Kirk Cousins obviously with the best wide receiver in football right now in Justin Jefferson. He's quarterback 13, which is exactly where Kirk Cousins should be. I would argue he should be 15, just right smack dab in the fucking middle. So, you're going to get 16 to 22 points, which is exactly what he's done all season. He had the one bad week in New Orleans where he only had, that was in London actually, so that even doesn't really count. Every other game, he's been between 16 and 22 points, which is just the most Kirk Cousins stat I've ever seen. So incredibly average, but I'm going to go with 18.5 points. Josh Jacobs have been just on an absolute tear. Fucking shit. 32, 27, 35. In the last 3 game weeks, he did have a bye mixed in there. He's had 6 touchdowns and he's averaging like 148 yards. Just fucking insane. And one of those was against Denver. Like, he's not playing cupcake defenses. It's Denver, Kansas City. Last week was a cupcake defense. It was Houston. But Denver and Kansas City are not pushovers. And he gets New Orleans this week, who isn't exactly the best defense. And then, God, next week he gets Jacksonville. Holy shit. Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs might be RB1 by the end of the year. And then on the other side, you have Kenneth Walker, who in his last 3 weeks, 14, 18, 28. He's had, in his last 3 weeks, he's had 4 touchdowns, and he's averaging like 125 yards. Last week, he had 167. So Kenneth Walker, just these are disgusting. Just ruthless numbers. And on the other side, you've got 2 guys who, like, you look at the names and they're not that scary, but you look at what they've done this year, and they have the potential to kind of pop. Last week, Raheem Mostert, I legitimately thought after that first drive that he was going to put up 35 points. That first 15 script was so beautiful. And I don't know if the weather caught up or like if they just weren't ready outside of the first 15, but that first 15 script was so beautiful. That first drive was just so sexy. And of course, Raheem Mostert gets the touchdown to end it. Same thing with Ramondre Stevenson. The second Bailey Zappi came in that game, and they went deep bomb to Jacoby Myers, and then a decently long touchdown run to Ramondre. I thought it was over. I thought I was convinced I was losing. That shit was so scary. Ramondre gets the Jets this week. I talked about it a little bit with Damian Harris earlier. I do think Ramondre has a really good week against the Jets. I think Mac Jones is going to be fully back, so maybe that opens up the offense some. Opens up the downfield passing game a little bit. We love Bailey Zappi. He's not a good quarterback. Let's just be upfront with that. I love Bailey Zappi. I'll watch him every game he's in. He's not a great quarterback. And Mac Jones isn't great either, but he's good. Good enough. Raheem Mostert gets the Lions. I've talked about what the Dolphins should do that Lions defense. Raheem Mostert will be a big part of that. Some screens, some dump offs. I think Tua just slings it all over the yard this week. Which is a shame because the person that has Tua right now is Tim, and you're not starting Tua over Josh Allen. So, Tim, you hit my DMs if you want to get rid of Tua. Justin Jefferson. The Cardinals. This would be on paper, like just looking at these two names, Minnesota and Arizona, and looking at the young players that are involved in this game, it should be incredible. Justin Jefferson, Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins isn't young, but he's really good. I mean, fucking Zach Ertz, AJ Green, who's ancient, I get that. Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, should be fun. I think this game's gonna be a fucking snooze fest. But Justin Jefferson's gonna pop off, and you got him stacked with Kirk Cousins, so not a lot to say about Justin Jefferson. He's the best wide receiver in football right now. Tyreek Hill on the other side. I think I've hit the head, the hammer. I think I've hit the nail. Whatever. I've talked about it. Fuck you. I've talked about it. Tyreek Hill is gonna run all over the Lions. So right up there with Jalen Waddle. Like I said, I think we saw them, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle do the week where they both put up over 35 points. This could be another week where that happens. I wouldn't be shocked. So, and Chris Godwin against Baltimore. This is where it gets a little bit spicy. Baltimore's not good. Neither is Tom Brady right now. And actually, getting breaking news here that Gisele Bündchen has given Tom Brady a final ultimatum to save marriage. So let's just live read this real quick. This is on the Daily Snark. I don't know if that's a reputable news source, Wade. I would like to see some sources on this one. Gisele has told Tom either he leaves football to spend time with the family or she is gone for good. She doesn't want him to continue to get injured and not be able to enjoy life in the future. She was doing it for her family. Gisele and Tom's friends are upset at Tom for going back on his word and coming out of retirement. They hate the way Tom is refusing to bend for Gisele. Yikes. So either Tom leaves football or his wife leaves him. Which, if that's true and he chooses football, tonight's going to be probably a bloodbath. So maybe Chris Godwin's the right pick. Maybe keep an eye out there. Keep an eye on that one. Who is the Bucks backup just in case this all goes south? I think is it Kyle Trask? I think it might be Kyle Trask. Oh, if it's Kyle Trask, I'm gonna get so excited. So it is Kyle Trask. He's there, but it's Blaine Gabbert is the backup. Blaine Gabbert's number 2. Kyle Trask is number 3. All right. Anyway, sorry for getting derailed there. Chris Godwin, if Tom Brady gets divorced, start him. Devontae Smith should light up the Steelers. Steelers stink. Mark Andrews should be somebody we talk about. I mean, let's look this week. For the season. His season total is 7, 21, 24 to 18, 20. So 4 games of over 18 points. 1 game at 7, 1 game at 2. Last week, 0.4. And even last week, like, he basically didn't play football, and he's tied into. Fucking insane. But that was wild. That was just wild. He is nursing an injury. List is questionable for Thursday night's game. Played through the injury and handled it fully alive. Okay, he looks like he should be fine. But that was wild. That he, like, I don't know how that happens. And you just not like the Ravens have like a buttload of receivers to eat up targets. Like, they have Devin Duvernay, and that's pretty much it. And the other guy who I get confused with, Rondell Moore, Rashad Bateman, that's the one. Devontae Adams has also looked sick the last couple of weeks. The Raiders honestly have just looked sick. They just can't win games. I mean, he's gone 15, 25, 13 and a half last week. Devontae Adams is disgusting, and he gets New Orleans. They should dominate that. Trevor's going to win this game. And I think Trevor is going to go probably 4-1 to end the season, which is not going to be good enough to make the playoffs. So it'll end him 5-7. And I don't think in a 10-team league where you already have 4 people at 4-3 who play each other out the season, just the math doesn't work. So Trevor will have one of the best teams to ever miss the playoffs. It's really sad to see. It really is. I mean, it's just a lot of potential there. What could have been, could have been going for three Rad Avenger League finals in a row. And we could end up in a situation too, and I'll probably keep up with this, where the entire playoffs he's outscoring every single team in the playoffs. And then that would just hurt even more, because like, you should have been there, could have won. It's disgusting to see. I do think he's going to have a little revenge toward the end of the season. I'm happy I don't play him again, I'll say that. Trevor should take this game. So then we get over to that was your 4th place matchup. 5th place is myself. And I think this is actually our last one. Yep, yeah, it is actually our last one. That's funny. Nobody in the top 5 plays each other. Interesting. I don't know the last time we've had that happen, and I'm not going back to find out. If somebody wants to watch through all the recaps and find out. Anyway, so I'm playing John. And John, much like Trevor, has been not quite as mathematically eliminated just because he has the extra win, but it's damn close. I mean, we're in must-win territory for John here. Luckily, he's got the pieces. He's much like Trevor, also got the pieces to do it and run the table and maybe end up in the conversation. You know, if he ends the season here 5-0, and I think he's got a much easier schedule, so much more likely for him to do it. 7-5. I think that probably gets you in the playoffs with some wins over some other teams there in the middle. Getting into the actual games here, or the actual players. John's projected 110 to 100 against me. I'm projected 100, which would be the first time in 4 weeks that I've broken that mark. So let's hope. Kyler Murray against the Vikings. I do. There's 2 things about Kyler Murray this week. One terrifies me. One I'm rock hard about. DeAndre Hopkins has been fully back at practice. They've had 10 days to rest and get back in rhythm. His favorite target. So hopefully the production goes up there. That's the exciting part. The terrifying part is that, and I believe probably 11 p.m. tonight. Oh no, I was way off. Oh, I thought Call of Duty released today. Does it not? Oh yeah, officially released on Friday, October 28th. Warzone doesn't drop for another 2 weeks. So Call of Duty releases tonight. So that's really scary. He's projected at 19. I do think he comes out to ball against the Vikings. Once again, that game should be interesting and could be interesting. I think it's going to be a snoozer. Geno Smith, the Seahawks against the Giants. Just a battle of behemoths in the NFC. Both of them fighting for a playoff spot, just like we all expected. Both of them, close to or at the top of their division. The Giants do sneaky have a really good defense and secondary. I mean, they're rated 15 against opposing quarterbacks. But let's look at the quarterbacks they played. Russell Wilson, not good. Trey Lance, hurt, and then Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, not great. Marcus Mariota, not good. Detroit when they were cooking. Jared Goff when they were just eating up, good. New Orleans, I think they played Andy Dalton, not good. Kyler Murray, arguably not good. Justin Herbert, good. So and they beat Justin Herbert. So they've and I was supposed to be looking at defenses there. That's on me. That's just all of that was wrong. Just completely disregard the last 5 minutes of what I just did. Holy shit. This is how you can tell this has gone off the rails. We're at minute 54 on the recording. I think the second this thing goes over 45, we're struggling. Anyway, Geno Smith is fun. Miles Sanders making his debut in the Goff Wang lineup, coming off of the trade with Cameron. I do love the matchup with the Steelers, and part of the reason I made this trade was the schedule going forward for Miles Sanders. He's got the Steelers, he's got the Texans, he's got the Commanders. Indy's got a good defense. Then he's got Green Bay, Tennessee, and then if I'm able to make it to the playoffs, Giants, Bears, Cowboys is a tough way to end the season. But hell, we're just trying to make the playoffs at this point, so we got to do what we got to do. Christian McCaffrey in his first full week as a 49er, terrifying. I'm so scared. I'm so fucking scared of what Christian McCaffrey is gonna do as a 49er. And I cannot wait to not play John so I can watch Christian McCaffrey do just awesome things and just actually love it. But holy shit. Dameon Pierce, also terrifying. Playing against Tennessee, a little bit of a difficult matchup. Nothing crazy. But Dameon Pierce is really, really good. I mean, his last 3 games, 22, 18, 13. He's just doing disgusting things. Getting into the wide receiver matchups here. Chris Olave coming over from Tim in the DeAndre Swift debacle. I am scared of Chris Olave. I will own that up front. Is Mike Thomas playing this week? Didn't practice Wednesday. Made a brief appearance on the team stretch. Okay, Michael Thomas isn't going to play. It was really fun those 3 weeks where he was back, but he's dead. So, and then AJ Brown obviously back. You know, talking about Miles Sanders against the Steelers, AJ Brown against the Steelers is really scary. CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb has kind of been a thorn in my side all season. The 3 weeks where I finally decided to bench him is the weeks he did well. Now he's kind of struggling a little bit. He's going up against a tough Chicago defense, but they do get that game at home. And Dak has finally kind of been able to practice and get himself going. So, you know, maybe CeeDee Lamb kind of returns to form. I don't really know. He's kind of at this point with Mike Williams injured and on a bye. Terry McLaurin playing the Colts. You know, he's kind of in there out of necessity. Dalton Schultz back and historically one of, if not Dak's favorite target. So I do really like that this week as long as he can go. He is still dealing with a knee thing, but he should be fine. Mike Gesicki, Mike fucking Gesicki. Here's Mike Gesicki's point totals. 0.6, 12.1 with a touchdown, 1.1, 3.3, 3.5, 21.9, 4.2. So either Mike Gesicki is going to do nothing and lose John the game, or he's going to do everything and win John the game. And I think it's going to come down as simple as that. Personally, I think Detroit is bad enough that Waddle and Hill and Mostert are going to run all over him, and Mike Gesicki kind of gets the odd man out there. That's what I'm telling myself. The flex is where I've struggled the most this week with the decision this week. Just 3 or 4 players that I just am not excited about, and not a single one of them. Michael Carter, I was kind of ready to crown after the Breece Hall news, which that was just, I didn't even touch on it with Trevor's, the Breece Hall thing, heartbreaking, awful. Breece Hall was awesome. So Michael Carter was ready to take over, and then they trade for James Robinson. So now I don't know if he's going to be second fiddle. I don't know what we're doing there. Melvin Gordon, same thing. Favorable matchup against the Jaguars, but they're playing in London. Early game. Latavius Murray's still there. I do think Mike Boone is out, which helps a little bit, but still, I don't really want any piece of the Broncos offense. And then Terry McLaurin, I mentioned it earlier, playing the Colts, who right now have the number one defense against opposing wide receivers in the league. But he is Taylor Heineke's favorite target. You know, you talk about just eating up targets and eating up receptions. Maybe he does it. I don't know. So I'm going to be dealing with this decision for the next 3 or 4 days, trying to figure that out. John does not have the same problem. ETN slotted in, set it and forget it. And he doesn't even really have debates at wide receiver. Olave and AJ Brown, by far the best on his roster. So congratulations to John for not having to deal with this heart-wrenching decision. So against my better judgment, because I do think John is going to put up some points this week, and it really scares me. But once again, betting yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, who do you believe in? So I'm going with myself. Fuck the record. I'm going with me. So just to quickly run down and recap it, we have Riley taking down Andrew. We have Cameron taking down Ashley. We have Trevor taking down Wade. We have Charlie taking down Tim, and we have myself taking down John. And we just crossed the hour mark. This is officially the longest recording that I've done by about 5 or 10 minutes. My voice is shot. I'm gonna go drink some water and cough my lungs out. Have a great day. Good luck this week. Yeah, let's ride.